Hey mate, I just realised that I didn't record an intro to that episode. It's a bit right at the start where I say, welcome to episode 34 of HikeordieTV Outdoor Adventure Podcast and all that stuff. I'm not really sure what we can do to fix that at this point, but I don't know, maybe just go straight into the music. Okay, see you mate.
Thank you, as always, to our regular podcast sponsors for their support. Topo Maps Plus, a phone application that allows you to view topographical maps and track your location even without cell phone coverage. Go deeper into the backcountry. Rios floating polarized sunglasses with 100% UV protection for the love of water. Bluey Merino, Australian superfine merino wool base, mid and top layer garments. Where our story ends, yours is just beginning. Caribbee, one of Australia's leading backpack, travel and outdoor brands. They supply us with dry bags, waterproof day packs and expedition bags. Supporting our sponsors allows us to continue to produce this podcast, so please jump online and check out what they have to offer.
We would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast today and pay our respects to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander listeners. Craig, how are you, mate?
Hey, Tom. On top of the world, actually, mate. Feeling fantastic right now.
Me too. It's a very, very special episode because, well, not only are we back from a bit of a busy period in our own lives, but let me just paint a little picture here of actually where we're sitting.
Please do.
So there's a wallaby, which is, for your international listeners, it's like a small kangaroo, just over there. Mm-hmm. There's another one somewhere. They've come right up to this cabin. We're sitting on the deck of this cabin, and we're looking out to the sunset in the west. And currently so the sun's already dipped behind the mountain ranges, but it's just a beautiful bright red and yellow glow with a few clouds streaked across there. You can see the kind of layers of mountain ranges going from the dark in the foreground through to those kind of hazy kind of greys in the background. And we're just at that point of time in the afternoon. It's about 5:30 p.m. local time, and all the birds and animals are quieting right down. So Craig set up a bit of a studio setup. Well, not a bit of a studio setup, mate. You've done a stellar job here of getting us our normal pro mics and everything from back in the original studio and bringing them out here on this deck.
Brought it with us, mate, didn't we?
Yeah, you've done well.
No.
So that's where we are. We've been staying at this cabin for around about, I've been here for around about 4 days, about 4 days. And last night we spent a night out in the mountains with a very dear friend of mine who's the owner of this property, and Craig came along as well. And how would you describe that, Craig?
Oh, this is my first visit here, and I just can't believe the extent of this rugged bushland we're looking at right now. We went down there and had the chance to cook on the open fire with right beside a waterfall and a swimming hole. Has absolutely made my day. Yesterday was one of the best days I've had in a long time, mate.
That was fantastic. I mean, it's really, you could sit here for half an hour and go on and on about how amazing it was, but I think Craig summed it up. We had a beautiful little campsite down there at the base of the waterfall, and I think you summed it up. As I said, cooking on an open fire and just sitting around having a bit of a laugh. I think there was a few sneaky whiskies in a few people's jackets down there, slipping out. And this morning I had a swim, and that was just full on, so cold. I think predictions on this morning's temperature were 4 degrees, a low of 4, but that's not specifically the area we were in, so I think we might have dipped a bit under that.
Yeah, it was cold.
It was cold, but the water was icy, and
but it's colder than where we're in northern New South Wales right now.
We're half a day's drive up, just slightly over half a day's drive south.
So it's a lot colder, but it was good. It was okay. I loved it.
It's good. Speaking of cold, it's starting to really freshen up here.
Yeah.
At the moment, I've actually got a blanket ready to put around me because I don't plan on sitting here and shivering. Now, what have you been up to, mate?
Oh, it's actually been a little while, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been quite a while.
Mate, I won't go too deep into it. I won't bore everyone with my boring life, except to say that...
And me, thank you.
Thank you, mate.
I appreciate it. On behalf of everybody listening.
I'll keep it short and sweet, but did go away over Easter and put up the tent with the family and had 2 days of torrential rain.
I remember when you were leaving, I kind of had a bit of a laugh to myself.
2 days of sunshine. So we copped it really, really bad, and but we still made it into, what we wanted, which was heaps of fun, and I think the kids actually loved it more than we did, because we were trying to keep the water out of the tent the whole time. Oh yeah, and there was flat batteries, and there's all sorts of stuff that got in the way of a good time. But we rose above it.
Nice one, mate. Yeah, I do. Like I said, I remember that weather.
It was pretty
bad.
I
remember sitting at home thinking, I'm pretty happy I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, I am going to bore everybody. In full contrast to Craig, I've been up to a ton of stuff. I think as far back as I did a 4-day canoe trip with a friend of the podcast, Josh, who's actually been he was in the cave episode for anybody who's listened to that. And we had a fantastic time. Did a bit of lure fishing up this river system. For anybody kind of local, I guess, it's the Noosa River, Upper Noosa River system, also referred to as the Noosa Everglades, which is a spectacular part of the world I've been to quite a few times. But it was just nice to get up there again, and we did less paddling and more kind of fishing and just cruising around than on my previous trips. So that was a nice little getaway. This is my second trip to this cabin out here in the last sort of 4 weeks. So that's been, amazing, as you can imagine. Also took the family out to a place called Bunya Mountains, which I'd never been to. Pretty cool. Really, the most interesting thing about the hiking out there was we stayed in this cool little cabin with a fireplace and everything. It's quite cold out there. And it was only a few hundred meters to the trailhead. The most interesting thing about the hiking out there was the diversity of the rainforest. So it was almost... put it this way, Craig, I'd still class it as rainforest, but it was completely different than anything we've really ever experienced when we get into that. Let's say, for example, your quintessential rainforest is Lamington National Park in Queensland, for example.
Okay. Yep.
Without saying North Queensland, which I haven't visited enough to speak of.
Yeah, gotcha.
Then it's quite like it looks impenetrable when you look across it, right? And there's lots of vines, and you can't see much more into the rainforest than maybe 20 meters, maybe less. In this case, you'd come out into these open areas where the trees were still rainforest trees, or more so bunya pines, and the there was just no kind of ground cover except these beautiful sort of shin-high ferns. And so you'd look through the trees, which is something that reminded me a lot of hiking in California. And I went up to, what was it called? I went up to where all the sequoia trees. Yeah, I went to Yosemite, but not so much where I was in Yosemite. But when I visited the sequoia trees, it may have been Sequoia National Park. It was a long time ago. Anyway, it really reminded me of that straight away because they don't tend to have that undergrowth as much as we do. And it was just really cool.
No canopy up top either. The sun's coming through.
No, the bunya pines are massive. They do put up a canopy.
Okay, gotcha.
So it was still 100% shady, and it felt like a rainforest. But you just move through these various levels, and yeah, as you kind of went, your elevation changed. You'd notice the terrain changed instantly. And then when you came back up to the elevation again, all of a sudden it was back to where you were before. It was a very interesting hike. We did a couple of hikes out there, actually.
Yeah, it's always good when things change around you and it's really more interesting.
Oh, it is. And also for me to go somewhere not overly far away that presented me with a completely different kind of a vibe when I was hiking, because we do tend to go back to the places we love and see the same things. But it was good. It was very good. Something I wanted to touch on is we've had a little break from the mics, and I won't go into too much detail. Mostly, I think both Craig and I have been sick throughout the past few weeks, few months, and not at the same time either. So unfortunately, I had a few weeks where I didn't want to be speaking on a microphone, and then he had that as well. So
just leading up to this, and I thought, I can't even ask you to do one because you must be you were
I'm just kind of in a good place now where I feel like hopefully I sound okay. But it affected us putting out a podcast. But what I was wanting to touch on was the huge amount of support that came in from so many of our listeners, and I mean, you know who you are. It was just extremely humbling, and it was really generous to take the time to kind of jump on direct messages on Instagram, or people who are also going to the effort of sending us emails. Are you guys okay? It's been a while. Is everything okay? And probably thinking the worst, but I just want to say, apologies for that little gap in broadcasting, but it was truly a pleasure to receive so many messages. And I'll tell you a funny story, Craig. This just reminded me of something.
Yeah.
So, Geordie is this really cool guy that reached out to us a very long time ago. I've mentioned him before on the podcast. He's actually his full-time job is leathercraft. So he makes beautiful handcrafted handbags and all sorts of stuff, leather belts, everything. It's really cool, really quite interesting. Anyway, he wrote me this message that, first of all, to kind of check we're all good, but second of all, he said, I want to tell you this really funny story. He said he walked into a pretty big he went to Tasmania and did a massive hike down there, and I said, I'm so jealous. But he said he walked into a pretty big outdoor franchise, I guess you'd say, shop in Tasmania. I guess a last-minute preparation for what they needed for their trip. And he got served by Andy Slozzy. Yeah, who was a previous guest of ours quite a long time ago.
Really?
Yeah, and Geordie said he was such a fanboy because he absolutely loved those. It was a 2-part episode. He absolutely loved it, and he said he just went full fanboy on
On Slozzy.
on Slozzy. He go, oh my God, you're Andy. Oh, I heard your interview on the podcast and everything, and I just laughed so much when I read that story. I thought, oh, it was so cool. Like, what a small world. Like the things that the things that people tell us, and how everything kind of connects into each other.
It is hard to know what you would say to Slozzy if you ran into him, but that's great, isn't it?
Well, he's not going to have a hard time talking to you and telling you everything.
That's right. He does talk really well.
Yeah, he'll tell you everything. He's great.
That's crazy.
Make sure you got a few minutes if you drop into a particular store in Tasmania and bump into Andy. He's top bloke. But yeah, thanks also to Geordie for sharing that story and reaching out to check on us, like many of you have.
Just had to take my hat off. I realised I don't need it anymore. The sun has set.
I've only got a hat on because it's keeping my head warm.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
I cut my hair really short and it's cold. You put me off, Craig. It's all good. What I'm going to do now is, his name is Fraser. He's not a somebody. Fraser sent me a message. He was one of the people that sent us a direct message and checked in on us to see if we were all good. And I wrote back, and we had a bit of back and forth communication there, just letting him know that we are okay. We've been a bit sick. A few things have gone on. We've been busy. But then he sent me a follow-up email, and Fraser, just thanks so much for sharing what you did in that email. I'm going to touch on a few things, but mate, it brought a tear to my eye, and I'm not even kidding. Like, it actually kind of made me well up a bit. Even now, kind of talking about it, just brought back the memories. So yeah, thanks for just being so honest. Fraser is 21, so 21-year-old dude, he says, and he's in the UK. Sorry, I just knocked my pen there. He's in the UK. He loves the outdoors. He aspires to be an adventure tour guide. He quite eloquently states here that our podcast satiate his deprived thirst for hearing and learning about all things hiking. Nice work. I think you should also do some poetry, mate, in your spare time, because you got the way with words there. He works night shift in a supermarket a couple times a week, and ever since he's found the episodes, he gets so excited when one pops up, and he works away listening to that and having a laugh. Now, this is a bit that really kind of choked me up when I was reading it. He recently, very unexpectedly, his father passed away at age 65, and he was best friend and a huge influence in his life. And he, it was, what does he say here? He's on some of the days where his dad would take him to work, he told his dad about this podcast that he, in his words, I can truly vibe with. Told him about us and our stories, and his dad was so happy that he'd kind of found some, Fraser says help, but I don't know how helpful we are, mate. But someone to just kind of listen and banter and I guess inspire him in a way to really kind of be that outdoorsman that he wants to be. So it's a fantastic. He also says that we're similar in character, ethics, and humour to his father, which I thought was hilarious. Must be a top bloke, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, on one hand, like, my heart goes out to you, mate. And on the other, I'm just so glad that he got to hear that, and that he was so happy about you following your dream, and that we can continue to do what we do and continue to kind of, I don't know, hopefully take you there. There's a few things I haven't responded to your email yet, Fraser, and I will, because you got a few specific questions that I might try and hit you back with some information. You apologise for an incredibly long email. Don't worry, because I will talk for an incredibly long time. He has, just for everyone's knowledge, he has given me permission to speak about anything in the email, especially his father, because he wants the world to know how lovely of a person his father was. Man, that's absolutely fantastic. He says, "Keep being legends. I love the humour." There was a really funny bit. Where is it? Let me find it. This is funny. He says, I think my most favourite funny moment was either when you asked a quiz question and you were going to tell the answer at the end and you just didn't tell it at all.
I remember that.
Which I thought was fantastic. Classic Tom. That was one of his funniest moments, but it was not meant to be a funny moment.
Bloopers.
Yes, that's right. I thought that's still one. That's great. That's awesome, man. And the other one, this is a great one. Somebody we were interviewing, I think it might have been Tom Fabry by the sounds of it. Anyway, someone we were interviewing was talking about problems they had and bad habits and addictions that they had. And Tom told Craig, "Now, Craig, are you listening here?" Oh, that was a funny one. Yeah, that was a good one. One of my best, some of my best content. Yeah, good stuff, man. That's so cool. Excellent.
Well done.
So thank you, Fraser. I mean, you took so much time there to open your heart to us, and it's awesome. I also need to jump off the back of that and say thanks so much to the people who have gone ahead and started supporting us on Ko-fi and subscribe to us on Ko-fi, which is ongoing support for the podcast. The website for that, just in case you need to know, is ko-fi.com/hike-or-die, one word. And you can find that link on our website or whatever. But what we've really, I mean, for a little while there, I'll be honest, I didn't quite know what a subscriber would want to be interested in. So I asked straight out the sort of things they might be interested in. I had a few ideas, but it seems to me like behind the scenes content is something that is people find interesting, just to see a little bit behind the curtain of what we do and maybe some of the adventures that we go on, and to that point we just recorded a really short video before we came on air just to show the studio, the ghetto studio we've got set up and the surroundings and everything like that. So we'll be posting that on Ko-fi for the subscribers to check out in the lead up to this podcast being released. Also, we'll probably drop little exciting kind of bits of information and stuff about upcoming guests and things like that. But yeah, look, honestly, it's very humbling for people to go that far to support us as well. So thank you again. We really do appreciate it. It keeps us doing what we're doing and funding what can sometimes be a expensive little endeavour. All good, Craig? You keeping up with me yet? We good?
Yeah, we're good. Thanks.
Okay.
Keeping up.
Very good. Let's go to the quiz, and in this episode, I'm going to do my best to answer it before the next episode. Craig, you're not allowed to answer this one because, you can try and think about the first one, but don't look at my screen, okay? You promise you won't look at my screen? Because I've got my laptop here. You're not going to look at the screen, all right?
Okay, just hit me with it.
Okay. Here's the question. If you visited one beach in Australia each day, obviously a different one if you get where I'm going. If you visited a different beach each day in Australia, how long would it take you to visit every beach? Okay? Does that make sense?
Oh, how many days?
I'm not going to tell you. It's at the end of the far out, man. He still doesn't understand how the quiz works. Anyway, there's a bonus question. I thought it's kind of related to that in a way. What are budgie smugglers?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so there's another one for you. What are budgie smugglers? And as I said, they're slightly related, so have a think about that. Oh, hello again, guys. We did, I'm going to be honest with you, we did actually take a sneaky break there because we're freezing cold.
It is so cold now.
It is. It really dropped off in the time it took to start the podcast to now. Now that sun is fully sunk behind the horizon there.
Tom's got a blankie over his knees.
I have a blanket over my knees, a wool blanket, not unlike any kind of a grandma would have.
Exactly like a grandma would
and
have.
Another one over my shoulders because there's not much meat on my bones. Anyway, yeah. We're back. We're all good. Don't worry about us. We're not hypothermic. I'm not sure if you remember in the last episode, Craig, I mentioned how much, I guess, back and forth was going on about the potential closure of Kakadu National Park.
Yeah.
Which is a huge national park in Australia. And to cut a long story short, it was just being kind of just decimated by tourists who weren't looking after it, and there wasn't enough funding to keep enough people employed to actually clean up all the mess. So what's finally happened now is one particular, I guess, what would you call it, point of interest, a popular destination for tourists is called Gunlum Falls, and it's now pretty much in the process of being closed. And it's all of the same things that were mentioned in the last time I spoke about it. I just thought it'd be interesting to touch back on that for anyone interested. In the first episode I mentioned it, is that, so the first time I spoke about it, it was a kind of a maybe thing, but now they're actually, they've chosen one sort of monument to shut off to the public, and who knows, it could be the first of many. But it really does highlight the ignorances of just the general public. If you're not one of those people, don't worry. I'm not talking to you. If you're a person who respects the land that you're visiting and carries your rubbish out and doesn't scratch your name in the rocks and things like that, then that's great. But yeah, it's a bit sad. Well, it's not a bit sad. I think it's extremely sad. What irritates me the most, I guess, Craig, if I can continue to rant, is that that affects me directly and my family, my kids. If that stays closed forever now from this point, then I'll never see it, and nor will my kids. So
disappointing.
It is disappointing. It's just... people wonder why they can't have nice toys if they don't look after them, right? Moving right along to something a little more light-hearted. This one's great.
Good.
Google Maps loses town. Hilarious, right? This is so good.
Must be.
So basically, this the mayor of this little town called Erramunga, something like that. It's about 12 hours west of where Craig and I live, straight into the desert kind of thing, or at least towards the desert.
Right.
And it's pretty funny. I mean, I think it's pretty funny. So it no longer turned up on Google Maps. It just literally didn't exist anymore. If you were driving through on that route, it just wasn't even there. So the mayor has gone, on YouTube or whatever, or in interviews and stuff, and he's unimpressed. So he's got all these funny things that he said to the media as well. If you see a signpost saying this town is this way and Google Maps is telling you something different, don't trust Google Maps. Says Quilpie Shire Council Mayor Stuart McKenzie.
Oh, yeah, Quilpie, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, at one time, this is quite funny as well. I mean, I'm sure they don't think it's funny, but at one point, a few weeks ago, it was 85 kilometres north of its actual location for almost 2 weeks. I'm sorry for laughing, but
middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and so he's getting all up. This is one of his quotes: "The map's been a bit crook for 2 weeks," which is Aussie slang for being sick, which is what he's saying is it's kind of broken. It's really cool. There's a pilot as well. This pilot's jumped in. He's been interviewed, and he's flown over the town on the way out on his route, and he said, but on Google Maps, I didn't even go over the town, which I thought was quite unusual. You'd start to worry, wouldn't you, if you're a pilot that was, constantly like running supplies in and out of these rural towns or whatever this guy was doing, and you're used to flying over it on a route to get somewhere else, and then on another occasion you fly exactly the same route and you didn't fly over the town on your GPS.
Yeah.
You think, oh, I'm way off. What have I done? Something's wrong here.
Don't trust Google.
Yeah, he goes on to say, I just love these interviews. He goes on to say, so he was with another guy. Oh no, he got onto somebody at the museum in Erromunga and says, "Mate, are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing, or is it just my computer?" And then his reply is, and he goes, "Nah, you're right. It's a bit crook." I just don't know if it's going to translate well to our international listeners, but just that kind of real Aussie slang is hilarious.
I hope they get it fixed, mate.
Yeah, it's still not fixed. The jury's out on that one. But yeah, they're even up in arms because of the Google. You know, when you go onto Street View, he says, it's more than 10 years behind. So we've got really nice cafes now, but it's still showing these old things.
Oh, right. Jeez.
Life's tough. Life's tough in the outback. Excuse me. Oh, Craig, this is an interesting one, and I honestly don't know how to take this. I read this article on backpacker.com, and I just can't work out if it's tongue-in-cheek by the writer or not. I just can't work it out. Olivia Dwyer, maybe you should send me an email and let me know if you're joking or serious. But what this article's about, it's called In Praise of the FU Stop. Is it always rude to dash off as soon as slower hikers catch up? Maybe the slinky stop has its place. It's called slinky stop from the toy. Okay, so think of you stretch the slinky out and then it stops to wait for the rest to catch up. But as soon as the people at the back catch up, the front guy moves again. Do you understand that concept? So, which is, I've done it to you before, and you've done it to me before, and it's super. I try not to do it anymore. Even today, I made a conscious effort not to do that. So what happens is you're hiking, and maybe you've been sick for a while, maybe you haven't been training, maybe you said yes to a hike that you shouldn't have, or maybe you've never hiked before. It doesn't matter. What happens is you go hiking with a group, and the fit hikers blast off ahead, and then at some point they get so far ahead that they stop and wait. And they wait for you to catch up. But when you catch up, you're not refreshed. They've been waiting for you for 10 or 15 minutes. They got their breath back. So you finally catch up and go, oh, great, now I need to rest. But as soon as you get to them, they go, right, off we go. And then they start moving again. It's hugely frustrating. And I guess to say that there's any... Again, I don't know if this is a tongue-in-cheek article or not. Like, it kind of seems lighthearted in places, but in some points she talks to the merit of doing that to people that you take. Maybe in things like maybe you should push your friends a little harder to kind of keep up. Like they're not gonna die. Like just keep them moving. Or perhaps there's something like there's bad weather coming, so you need to move faster or things like that. But I really, I just don't think it's a great way to put it this way. Your duty as a seasoned hiker to bringing anyone else on the trail, even if they're a seasoned hiker and they happen to be out of shape at that point in time, I think it's your duty to adjust your pace to help them have an enjoyable experience so that they want to go back out there and do it again. Now, you could argue with me and say, well, shouldn't you be able to go at the pace you want to go because you did the right thing and trained and you're ready to go and you can hike at that pace? And I'd say, to a certain extent, yes. But one day you're going to be the person on the receiving end. You're going to hike with someone way fitter than you, or you're going to be like me today and just coming off the back of being, sick with a kind of head cold for 2 weeks. I've done no training, and I guess my respiratory, is that how you say it, system is a little out of whack from that, and you might be on the receiving end of it, maybe. And you said yes to a hike that you didn't want to cancel, so you've gone out there not feeling 100%. So I just don't know. What's your thoughts on that, Craig?
It's amazing they've written an article about this. Because you're bringing that to light. I think it's true. When you meet up again, you must pause and have a chat. That's the chance to just have a little bit of a chat or a little bit of a this is great, and let that person catch their breath. I think that is courtesy. If you're hiking in a group, you're not hiking on your own, are you?
No, and you've agreed to that. I'm assuming 99% of the time you've agreed to hike with this person. So maybe you'll never hike with them again because that irritated you the whole day and it ruined your day or whatever. But I don't think that that's grounds for sort of, I don't think that's grounds for you to say, well, I can justify it. I can justify being upset and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, mate. Yeah. And she does kind of, again, like I said, it's kind of lighthearted. She says, she's basically saying that there is a time and a place for it, and I'm not convinced that there is. And she says right at the end, of course, I'm not advocating overuse of the slinky stop, but you'll have to catch me if you want to argue about it. So again, it's kind of like signing off like, are you kidding or serious? I'm not quite sure. I'd say the slinky stop doesn't have a place at all unless everybody's in agreement, and I guess unless the person at the end moves at such a slow pace that they don't need to break once they catch up. They can just keep going. You know what I mean? Yeah, tough one. I don't know. I'll put the jury out to you guys. You guys tell me.
That's interesting.
I know? Yeah.
Nice work, Tom.
Craig, this next one's an interesting one, mate.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting on a couple of levels. So this is a Outside magazine, so outsideonline.com article. And it's titled The Ethics of Wildlife Photography.
Yeah.
A recent incident involving a renowned wildlife photographer allegedly baiting foxes at Grand Teton sheds light on a larger issue. Now, there's a particular photograph of, well, let me just start with some of the facts here. Oops, sorry, I'm just getting the article up on the screen. A world-renowned British photographer, David Yarrow, was lying on his stomach in the snow, and he's photographing these red foxes, right?
Mm.
And behind him was one of his colleagues, and was using a cellophane wrapper from a cigarette packet. It's kind of waving it in the wind, and I guess, making the noise and everything to make them think that it might be some form of food, and entices them closer to the photographer so he can get an epic shot that he shares with the world, and people go, wow, what a amazing natural situation there. So this photograph, and Craig and I are looking at it right now, is exactly the scene I just described.
He's just trying to get that fox to look at the camera, isn't he?
The guy up the back here.
Yeah, trying to get the fox to turn his head.
He's kind of, but also trying to lure them in with the, it's not, sorry, I'm just moving my chair. It's not interested in, oh, that's a cool noise. It's obviously thinking that you have food. Something I want. Like a fox is not just going to come towards you because you're going, hey, fella.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, and I guess that's interesting that you react like that, Craig, because it gets really, really interesting here. Now, initially,
I see him do that all the time in the shopping centres to try and get the little kids to face the camera too.
To get selfies.
His little rattle.
Kids.
A little rattle.
Oh, yeah, those guys. Yeah,
Tell me more.
Hopefully it doesn't end like this does then, Craig. So they kind of, like this photographer and his colleague have responded and said, I don't think that they're going to eat, I don't think they eat cigarettes, do they? And it's kind of being smart in his response and kind of defending their actions, saying that they didn't do anything wrong. They know what they're doing. They know that, they don't want to interfere with the animal and everything. But I think this is where it gets really bad. 2 weeks later, after he took that exact photograph, 2 weeks later, park rangers trapped and killed one of the two foxes that was present on the day of Yarrow's shoot. Because the animal was habituated and food-driven, having spent the past year, taking food from picnickers and thieving trout from anglers, this sealed its fate. So this Yarrow guy and his associate was kind of like the straw that broke the camel's back. They've lured it in to get the shot, got it really, really interested in humans. So the stupid comment by his offsider about, well, I don't think they eat cigarette packets, do they? It's probably the most ignorant comment I've ever heard, and this magnifies it because one of them's now dead. And had it not been enticed in, perhaps it wouldn't have been that, trying to do that to the next lot of people. Not good, huh?
So you're saying that because it was spending its time hanging around with them, it wasn't out getting some food that it needed, or?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that they've kind of showed those foxes that if you come to humans, they have interesting stuff. And in the past, every time that fox has gone near a human, it's been able to steal some food. But I guess it's just really built up that confidence of being around humans while they were taking the photographs, and then it's hassled some other people and had to be put down. So am I saying that fox, that they're 100% responsible for that fox's actions? Not really, because as they say in the article, very honestly, it's been an ongoing thing with this bunch of foxes and that one in particular. But my point is, do you not think it's a coincidence that 2 weeks before it finally gets killed, that he's out there trying to entice it in with cellophane wrappers and stuff?
Oh, right, I get it. Yep.
Such
so
a bad
encouraging
look.
behaviours that are not good for them.
Exactly
okay,
right.
gotcha.
Encouraging them to be interested in humans for perhaps potentially getting more food. Really bad ending, and it's blown up hugely within the kind of US wildlife, parks and wildlife groups, and then obviously the wildlife photography groups, and then everyone's questioning everyone's ethics now, because I'm sure this is not the only guy that's doing things like that. I'm sure there's people doing much worse. Let's put it that way. I'm sure there's people actually using real food and throwing it out and waiting for an animal to come to get that photo, which we all think when we see it on someone's Instagram or when we see it on the front cover of National Geographic magazine or something, we assume that somebody stalked in and the animal was unaware, and they got this amazing shot of the animal in its natural environment.
Gotcha. Yeah.
It's just not altogether true. So that's kind of opened a can of worms.
Oh, wow.
Shall I switch back to something lighthearted, Craig? Is that going to...
Of course, mate.
Yeah, so I can sense you weren't exactly happy. Well,
did the fox get put down for approaching humans?
Yeah, 2 weeks after.
Right, because for me, when you read it to me, I thought that the fox had maybe starved to death.
You thought the photographer got put down.
I didn't follow you exactly, because I thought that maybe he'd caused the animal to have some unusual death, but it was just getting put down, right?
No,
Gotcha.
it got put down because...
Gotcha.
he has to be partly responsible for that.
Yeah, I see.
Luring it in with unnatural kind of things.
And then it's going to do it again. Yeah.
Yeah, it obviously did.
Yeah.
Where's my next article? Oh, this one's... I said I'd do something lighthearted, but it's got a bit of twist.
What's that?
Okay, so there's this photograph of this news post, which is a helicopter and basically a rope coming down with two massive kind of canvas sacks.
Basket sacks, yeah.
Yeah, with goats. With goats in.
Are they goats? Oh, right.
They're goats,
yeah.
which I thought was hilarious because we actually saw some goats yesterday and today over on the mountains. In fact, just after I went for a swim this morning, they came around when I was warming up in front of the fire. I could hear them down there. Yeah. So anyway, I thought this is quite funny, but a group of mountain goats have been airlifted by helicopter to a new home after they began harassing hikers.
Oh.
Hey? Lucky we got friendly goats out here. They did not harass us in any way, just to be fair to them. So it's in the Olympic Peninsula in Washington. Contains... Oh, okay, this gets a bit funky. Kids maybe, I don't know, maybe don't listen. But you might learn something. You're going to learn something factual. The Olympic Peninsula in Washington contains no natural salt licks. A salt lick, animals like deer, goats, and several other animals love salt. They absolutely love it. They crave it like it's candy. And there's salt lick. It's a big block of salt that you can kind of half bury in the ground, or there's other ways, obviously, of distributing it. But it gives those animals the kind of nutrients that it needs and replenishes salt. But it is kind of like crack cocaine to them in some ways. Anyway, they don't have those things. So mountain goats have started to rely on human sweat or urine for salt. This leads to a conflict between the species being humans and goats. And this is where it's, I said it was something lighthearted, but it's actually not funny. A hiker was fatally gored by a goat in 2010. Now, I don't know anything about that particular incident, but that's pretty gruesome. And obviously it kind of folds into the last thing I was just talking about, where that constant interaction with humans gets them more and more confident, more and more brave, and they end up doing things when they don't get their way, or we spook them or something like that. So
that's a great
Dr.
photo.
Patty Happ, who's from the wildlife branch, she's the wildlife branch chief of Olympic National Park, told the local radio station, "They will follow you on the trail until you stop and urinate." In which case, I guess they're there to get some of that sweet salt. So yeah, look out for goats. Don't worry if you're down in this area. They're absolutely friendly, delightful, and at this point, I've never seen them chasing us for that.
No.
But yeah, interesting.
So they had to relocate them? Or?
So yeah, these guys have been getting rowdy.
Yeah.
And obviously, like they follow the hikers and freak them out, and and then I guess once they learn, again it folds perfectly into that last article. Once they learn, following a hiker equals eventually we get some salt, then every single hiker is a potential salt lick. Like a mobile salt lick dispenser.
So watch your back, all right? Watch your back out there.
Yeah, watch your back. And then, keep your eyes peeled. But hopefully they've taken all of the nasty ones out. But yeah, they got a free helicopter ride for their efforts, which is more than they deserve. Good stuff, Craig?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good one. Excuse me. Oh, this is another wildlife encounter. I've got lots of wildlife encounters this time, haven't I? This one's a little way back, but as in it was the end of last year. Oh, no, it's been updated this year. So regardless, it's only come to my attention very recently. And there's this video, which I won't play, but I will put the link in the show notes. 650-pound grizzly bear chases hiker in Glacier National Park. If you've seen this video, it's pretty full on, and this guy's continued to film while it was all going on, and I'm not having a go at him for that. I mean,
I've seen this one.
Have you seen this one? Yeah, it's freaky. So up this path here, there's some hikers.
Yeah.
And it comes tearing along
the front.
There it is. There.
Yeah,
comes tearing along the front and then starts going up towards them. And
people are yelling from the ridge, aren't they?
So yeah, the people on the path. The people on the trail don't really know what to do, because they're obviously they don't frequent those areas, or maybe they don't know what to do. It might be their first hike, but it doesn't matter. But they don't really know what to do, and they're shouting out to the group that's filming, saying, "What do we do? What do we do?" And they're shouting back advice, saying, just move away and all this sort of stuff. And then they start running up the trail. And the lady who's...
Because I think they're saying, don't run.
Yeah, she's saying, don't run. Yeah. And it charges towards him and gets within what I would consider a distance I wouldn't like to be within with a full-grown grizzly.
Yeah.
And then kind of stops, and I think he realizes it's not what he wants, or they are human, and there's a group of them and he's not interested. For whatever reason, he stops, and then he turns towards the people screaming, taking the film, and he starts to kind of trot towards them, and even the camera guy goes, Oh, great. Now it's our turn.
Mm-hmm.
Really, yeah, like you say you've seen it, and I'm sure it's been around for a while, but if you haven't, it's
Amazing.
quite confronting. And
Amazing footage, yeah.
the speed at which this thing gets mobile is scary. Absolutely scary. You know, people say that it's dangerous in Australia, or I don't know if there's some statistic like we've got 22 of the 25 world's deadliest snakes or something like that, and we've got spiders and crocodiles and sharks and all sorts of stuff. But we camped in our tents down in the middle of nowhere last night, and not once do I need to worry about waking up to that thing sticking its head in my tent.
Yeah, that's
We just
it.
don't have that level of predatory animals here. So we're very lucky. We do have goats, so I mean,
Sniffing around.
you'll be careful because we obviously would, not too far from the camp, we were urinating, and one of those goats could have come down and gone, "What have we got here?"
Oh, mate, I think it would be. My mind boggles about living in America or Canada and having to deal with those bears.
Yeah, I really am. I really do admire their commitment to getting outdoors, and I understand. It's like everything. It's like, I guess some people will believe that if you swim anywhere in the ocean in Australia, there's a 95% chance you're going to get smashed by a shark. Do you understand what I mean?
You think it's just a perspective thing?
I think it's something that if you grew up there and you did go into the wilderness a lot, not only would you know how to deal with the situation a little bit more calmly than you and I, but you may see a animal at a particular distance and think, "Oh, that's of no threat to us. Let's continue about our business." For example, I was just out the front of this cabin 4 weeks ago, and I can't remember what I was doing, moving some firewood or something, and a little black snake just went across in front of me, probably like 2 meters, so not far. It just moved across in front of me. Now, there's a fair few things to say about that. First of all, I wasn't scared whatsoever, not because he was small. He still has, venom, but because of the distance. Had he been 1 foot away, I might have got a bit of a fright and thought, "Oh boy, I almost trod on him," and that's not a good thing to do. But because of the distance, I kind of, in a split second, I guess you evaluate the situation and go, here's a couple of things happening here simultaneously. One, he's moving perpendicular across in front of me, which means he's not moving towards me, which means he's not interested in me. He's just heard my footsteps and he's on his way. And two, again, that distance is, well, if he's 2 meters away, I can deal with this. I can move left or right. I can back out of here. So you know what I mean? Like, it's just that.
Yeah, we've got a lot of situations where it's dangerous and deadly animals, but not aggressive sort of, I don't know, predatory.
Yeah, I think people are going to laugh at this, especially our US listeners.
They're going to think those Aussie guys have got no idea. Maybe.
No, because what I'm about to say they're going to laugh at is what I was going to say. I'd rather get bitten by a snake any day.
Oh, yeah.
In the right circumstances, and just kind of, sit down, have a sip of water, pick up my phone and ring somebody, or hit my emergency, locator beacon or something, and just sit there calmly and wait for rescue. That's a completely different scenario to potentially getting charged, attacked, mauled, all those things.
Yeah.
Bit scary. Bit scary.
Yeah, keep safe out there, guys.
But also, as I said, some pretty pretty rugged people out there continuing to brave the outdoors.
That's
and
it.
I commend you.
That's it.
Doing it for all of us. Got another animal-related attack thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, I thought this one quite interesting because our listeners might not be familiar with the cassowary. We've spoken about the cassowary before a long time ago.
Yep.
But it's a massive bird. Like, would you say the size of like an ostrich or something?
Yep.
Maybe smaller, maybe shorter in stature, stumpy, thicker legs. It's basically like shrunken velociraptor, right?
It's got big. Yeah, it has got big claws. Apparently, big talons on its
Excuse
feet,
me.
and it's got a big horn or crest on its head.
Yeah, big crest on its head. It's not. Yeah, it doesn't mind whacking you with that.
But they look quite beautiful, and they're quite a stunning creature. So
Yeah, they're spectacular, but they are
they are
known for
dangerous.
Yeah, they are very, very dangerous, and they are known for killing animals and attacking humans. They can be very violent. Now, I don't want to allude to this, and this is probably the first time I won't be sharing this on the show notes because it's from a particular news outlet that I just don't like. I just think that this is kind of a two-pronged article for me, Craig, because I think they've gone overboard and in their kind of clickbait title. So they say here that it, basically video shows cassowary stalking hikers in Queensland's north. Now, that's completely and utterly untrue because once you start to, when you actually watch the video and when you actually read through the article, it turns out that the bird's just following these people, okay? Which is still, I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a scary scenario. It's funny because we just said,
I know.
not 5 minutes ago, we don't have anything deadly
Predatory.
that's going to follow you on the trail and try and rip your face off. But this guy will. Anyway, where I think that they've gone wrong is when you watch the video, it's a very curious cassowary, and it's checking them out. But I just can't. I didn't realize this. I'm going to be honest about this, Craig. I didn't realize how all these articles tied in until now we're actually doing the podcast. But because experts have spoken on this and said that this is not cassowary behavior at all, and they've blamed cases of humans feeding this particular bird and others. So it's kind of expecting lunch every time a human walks past, not unlike the little goats expecting a little salt. And a senior wildlife officer has said that if it wasn't habituated with kind of bushwalkers and hikers, it would never ever approach a bushwalker. And if you kind of put some pressure back on it to shoo it away, I guess they say that it would have retreated immediately into the forest and to avoid such an encounter. So yeah, again, wow, it just keeps highlighting the I guess people think they're harmlessly feeding these animals, and then they end up turning on people.
No, look, I've just been Googling. If you do believe what pops up in the first few hits, only one reported death from a cassowary, but 150 attacks on humans.
Okay, 150 attacks, one death. That's not a good way to go. There's probably better ways to go than a cassowary death.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure that it went for a while. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, stop feeding animals. I know I'm not talking to you guys who are listening. Tell your friends to stop feeding animals. Craig, this next article, I find this one quite interesting in a few different ways. This is for our friends in the US, and it's kind of based around Colorado. And the article's titled, "Is Spontaneity over for Colorado's outdoors. Enthusiasts have mixed feelings. What this is about, Craig, is people are now, I guess, expected to, and in some cases required to, kind of like book hikes and I guess pay for permits and things of that nature. Do you understand what I mean? So instead of just being able to access an area, you may have to, in the near future, check first and book that and get your permit. And I don't mean overnight stays. We already have to do that here in our state and throughout our country. It's a very minimal amount that we pay to stay overnight at a campground, and obviously that money goes straight back to National Parks and Wildlife to maintain the campground and the surroundings. I have no problem with it. All good. Obviously, if you're planning a trip of that nature, you're going to plan in advance. You're going to book your permits. All good. But what people who frequent the outdoors are getting a little uptight about is, again, it takes that spontaneous nature out of, hey, what do you want to do today? Hey, let's hit the trails in this particular area.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on a second, we might not be able to. Oh, we don't have a permit, or we haven't organised it early enough, or it's booked out, or whatever.
Taking their freedoms away, mate.
Well, I think some people will see it like that, but again, this is because of the way the trails are getting destroyed and the way those areas are not keeping up with the influx of people. They do say that COVID,
I was going to say, is it a COVID thing?
Impacted that. I guess a lot of people were...
Reduce the numbers.
Were...
more people were going out.
More people were going because they wanted to kind of get outdoors and don't get me wrong, I've spoken about this at length in other podcasts about the benefits and of getting outdoors for your mental and physical health. We all know that's a thing. That's why we're here. That's why you're listening to the podcast. That's why I'm sitting here freezing with blankets around me doing this podcast in the middle of nowhere for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it was a tricky one, but I'm not 100% against it. And
so it's passes and stuff like that they're talking about.
Yeah, passes for state wildlife areas. Now, some of the people are in favour of it, saying that, I'd prefer that if there was some kind of a pass or permit system, because then it might not be as busy at certain times because you actually can filter that flow in, which, as you and I know from booking campgrounds, they only have a limited amount of spaces available. So you're not going to get there and struggle to find a spot, or that not find a spot at all. So I don't really have that much of a problem with it.
Well, the same thing's been happening on Bribey Island lately. Did you know that?
Are you talking about beach access?
Yeah.
Well, that's been around for ages, though.
The COVID thing? No.
I don't think I don't know about anything COVID related.
So you get your annual pass, right? You buy your ticket, and then you now have to also have a COVID pass because you log on that you're going to be accessing it that weekend, and they have a limited number of people. So if you don't get a pass,
I think that's different. I think that's a different conversation, because that's based on social distancing.
Yeah, it is.
So that's based on not. Yeah, so I guess it's similar in the way that they're restricting access, but this is not because of COVID.
Right.
What I meant before when I said it's because of COVID is more people are going outdoors to, I guess, kind of, refresh themselves, get some time in the wilderness. So therefore, all of a sudden, and a lot of people would have, their jobs would have been put on hold. So they go, okay, let's start hiking, and
let's get out
so
there.
More people were going to these places.
Oh, for sure.
This is not a social distancing issue. This will be ongoing forever if it all goes through. And
Yeah, I was just
It
saying
just
a
puts
similar
that-
issue here where lots of people were going onto the beach and they were just filling up, and so they've decided to put this policy in. Lots of people are a little bit
similar situation for different reasons.
bit offended by it too.
Yeah, which is ridiculous. I'm not even going to go into that. The most of the reasons for this is because the place is just getting smashed with people,
totally.
and trails are getting damaged, and you can imagine how much rubbish and litter's being left everywhere. They basically say we want people to be safe, we want the natural resources to be protected, and want people to have a good time. So that's one of the ways of managing that. And in a way, the fact that outdoor pursuits are on the increase is a good thing. Maybe those new people just coming on board for the first time need a little bit of education on how to look after it. And again, like the first Kakadu story I started with, if we look after what we're allowed to access, then we'll be allowed to access it freely for a lot longer.
Yeah.
There's a message in that, kids. I've only really got one more thing for you, Craig. You're probably glad about that because you're freezing too.
Oh, well, I'm not sure if our listeners can actually feel how cold it is
I
here.
thought you were going to say, I'm not sure if they can take much more of this.
I'm going to ask you for your blanket in a sec to share.
All right, we're just wrapping this podcast up immediately. No, it won't come to that, mate.
All right.
This last one's... Oh, no, this is interesting. Do I say that every single time?
Yes, you do.
I've said that every single time. Just for the record, I'll try not to put a news article on here that's not interesting.
That's it. They're all
and
interesting.
then I can just say right at the start of the podcast, hey guys, everything I say tonight is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully everyone feels the same about that. Headline. Oh, I don't even know how to say this. The Sentiero di Apache, a new hiking trail uniting Italy. We just lost all of our Italian speakers listening because of my terrible attempt at saying that.
You reckon? I was reading that. I think you got that right.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I've got no idea.
I still appreciate it. This is an ambitious project, $35 million over 13 years, to connect all of Italy's 25 national parks by a single trail.
Wow.
That's cool, huh?
Yeah.
When it's completed in 2033, a new route known as the Sentiero di Apache, translated as Path of the Parks, will cross each of the country's 20 regions, pass through 6 World Heritage Sites, and stretch nearly 8,000 kilometers. I'm sorry, US listeners, but it is twice the length of the US Appalachian Trail.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a fantastic initiative.
That's great.
I just wish they'd do something like that in Australia one day. I mean, we do. I take that back in a sense. We do have the Great Walk in our state, which is fairly significant and joins up a lot of national parks. So yeah, don't hate me, anybody who's involved with bringing that to life.
Yeah, that's right.
What's interesting about this is there's this guy called Elia. Oh gosh, why do I always pick these articles that have things I can't pronounce?
I never know.
Origoni, Elia Origoni.
Mm-hmm.
He is bringing attention to the new hike, I guess, promoting it in a sense. And what he's doing is he's gonna hike the whole thing. So this is before it's completed, just to be clear. It doesn't exist yet. He's planning to hike the whole thing roughly 30 to 40 kilometers each day, walking, rowing. He wants to, I guess, paddle some of it, and then hiking again through Sicily, and then rowing again to mainland Italy, where he'll walk the rest of the way. On his 7,000 kilometer plus self-propelled journal, he's hoping to highlight the new announcement. This is where it gets crazy. Here's a quote from him. I'm doing this without using Google Maps or a GPS because we're losing the value of being able to move without a phone in our hands. With a physical map, you have a much wider view of the area where you are. You discover your surroundings and how they connect. That's great, but that's not good for my track record at all. I would not fare well on a journey of that magnitude.
Yeah, that's tough.
Having only paper maps. But I commend him. That's great. I don't know how long he intends for this to take. I'm not sure if they mention that in the article or if they don't. He's going to have a 7-kilogram backpack, which is on the lower sort of extreme end of the, I guess, ultralight movement amongst young Italians, which is super light if you do that conversion. Shall I do it for our listeners? Oh, I can't even. This is awkward. Can you shine your torch on the keyboard?
Yeah, then you can do it.
I can't even see. Okay, what did I say?
7 kilo.
This is live. 7 kilograms to pounds.
Yeah.
15 pounds. So yeah, he's only carrying 15 pounds. While I'm here, Craig, I should do the conversion of. Can you shine it back up here again?
4 degrees.
40 kilometers.
Oh shit! Sorry.
You just swore again on the podcast.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Listen back. 25 miles a day he plans to cover. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yep, that's a lot. And what was the other thing? Oh, the total, 8,000 kilometres, wasn't it? 8,000 kilometres to miles is, drum roll, just shy of 4,000.
5,000.
Just shy of 5,000.
Yep.
At 4,970 miles. Okay, that's a significant hike. So yeah, this guy's committed. Unbelievable. What's your thoughts on that, Craig? You reckon you'll be keen to do an 8,000 kilometre hike?
That's so far. That's so far.
That's so far.
That's from Brisbane to Townsville, like 4 times.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know why he's doing that. No, that sounds good. Sounds like a pretty wild adventure.
It's funny. I almost feel like he's going to do it. It's a 13-year plan, and he's going to do this 8,000 kilometre journey to bring awareness to this trail. I wonder if he's planning to take 13 years. Because he's not using any GPS or anything. No. Does he think? Because I was thinking, hey, if I wanted to bring awareness to something, I'd kind of do it a few sort of months out from the release, you know what I mean? Well, for whatever it is.
Right.
If it was a film or whatever, or let's say it is a trail, I sort of think, hey, 6 months before we're going to open this brand new trail, we're all going to get out there and we're going to hike it and test it, and we're going to start promoting it.
Yeah.
But he's doing it 13 years in advance. I don't know how. I'm not knocking him. I think it's a fantastic endeavor. I'm just saying, I don't know if all of us are going to be following this 13-year journey.
Mate, he's an explorer.
I don't think it's going to take him 13 years, to be honest. I think if I try to do it, I might come in just under 13 years.
Yeah.
Which would be perfect, because just as, I could just get there back to to the end, for the kind of ribbon cutting ceremony or something.
Yeah.
And then that would kind of fit in well. That's how I'd do it anyway. Yeah. Oh, interesting. Anyway, good luck to you. Hey, a quick conversation about gear. We haven't talked about gear for a while.
All right.
But the as you have spotted on our hiking adventure the last couple of days, I'm wearing the Fjällräven pants.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely love. Now, Fjällräven translates to Arctic fox, which is pretty cool, and it's a fantastic little logo. I'm not sponsored by in any way, by Fjällräven, but it was a brand I've been watching for a long time, and I've watched a lot of reviews in more recent times, and so I bit the bullet and grabbed a pair of their Vida Pro pants, and I also grabbed the jacket as well. I'm not going to lie, they are not cheap at all. They are on the extreme high end of outdoor, kind of rugged outdoor equipment. But I will also say it's been extremely comfortable, and I've loved having so many pockets to hide stuff in. So yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I've done a full review on them yet, because I've only had them on for 3 or 4 days. But yeah, initial impressions is I really like them. I like the fabric. It's really starting to soften up now, and sort of fitting me nice and snugly. I think it's good stuff. Stay tuned and see if I still feel that way in the future.
And the electric wok that we found down there in the scrub that we used for cooking our bacon on this morning, that's not going to make the gear?
No, it will make the gear. The gear talk.
It was good.
It was great. We found a wok, the ghetto wok.
The ghetto wok.
And it's in the middle of nowhere. We found a wok at the base of this waterfall, and the only thing we can kind of put together is at some point, so the owner of this property, at some point he thinks there was some kind of a structure down there where someone was either camping long term or where they'd go down and spend some time.
Mm-hmm.
Very rugged structure because it's all fallen down. But we found a little billy, which is an Australian word for kind of like a pot that you'd put on the fire to boil water to make tea or coffee and other food. But we found that as well. But we find this wok, and I thought, well, that's going to be pretty handy, because we were cooking up a storm down there, and it was filthy, but I burnt it with fire and everything, and basically killed any germs. But as Craig has pointed out, the hilarious thing is, it was an electric wok. It wasn't like a cast iron thing that you would expect to put on a fire. It had the little plug, the element underneath, and the plug thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hilarious.
It was bizarre.
It was bizarre. They obviously taken the plastic off and everything. But anyway, we used it, and it was absolutely spectacular. I'm so grateful that it was there. It's just funny that it was electric.
No, I just brought that up because it was a great experience for us to have some different gear that we had to cook on the fire with. And I loved watching you use those pans that you actually had, that pan you had today, and my little titanium grill.
Yeah, that little
really
grill
well.
was pretty funky.
That's by Elton Goods. And,
yeah, that's kind of... I mean, you can't take that every hike, especially, we had this discussion while we were out there.
Oh, because of the open fire.
That's right. You're not allowed to have open fires in national parks and things like that. So it really kind of limits your cooking choices back down to your typical kind of gas stoves and all that sort of stuff. But I think for what that grill was in the situation last night, it was absolutely spot on. It's just the perfect size for that monster steak that you chucked on it.
It was.
And
Yeah, it's good.
You know, it only really elevated that steak about maybe 3 to 5 millimeters off the hot coals. So it was absolutely fantastic. I'm so glad you had it there.
Yeah, it's super lightweight, so that's what I went for, and I can see myself, packing in a cold steak sometimes. As long as you know you're going to have an open fire, it's great.
Yeah, that's exactly right, mate. Fantastic. Last but not least, Tom's Magical Mystery Media mashup. I've only got two quick videos I want to talk about. One I discovered by accident going down the rabbit hole on YouTube, as I do, searching for exciting content to share with you, the listeners, so you can go and watch the exciting content and go, wow, that's exciting content. I'm glad Tom shared the exciting content.
So exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's like a short documentary. I think it's been a few weeks since I watched it, but I think it was in the vicinity of 20 minutes. And it's about this guy who photographs fungi. Now, I'm not talking about going in the forest and photographing little toadstools and interesting fungi during the day. What I'm talking about is this guy has perfected the art of photographing fungi at night. And what you'll find with so many species of fungi is they actually glow at night. So he does these long exposures and photographs fungi, and the results are nothing short of absolutely spectacular and beautiful and mind-blowing, because I just don't think that everyone realizes that this is happening all around them. So it goes a little further in that he's actually also perfected time-lapsing these fungi. And what he's done is he's got this old shipping container at his house, and he's made it all the perfect environment to grow fungi. And then he collects spores and takes them into his little laboratory in the pitch black, and starts these spores growing. And then he sets up long exposure time lapses, and you see this fluorescent fungi growing across a log and sprouting these little mushrooms or whatever it might be. It's absolutely so cool. Like, it's so cool. I remember stumbling across it and watching the whole thing just straight away in one go, and I just loved it. I just loved everything about it. That was really cool. So yeah, I'm going to put the link in the show notes. If you are new to the podcast, the show notes is I do a page for every single episode in which I list all of the sort of articles that we speak about, and all the other interesting stuff, like this fungi video. Insert dad joke about fungi here.
No thanks.
The other one I wanted to talk about was this hilarious old footage from 1971 of a TV show, or rather, I guess a miniature, more like a short documentary on this survival challenge. So we tend to think, in this modern day, that things like Bear Grylls and what's another one? Naked and Afraid, Survivor Man, the list goes on and on. Dual survival, all those things to us, they're kind of a modern concept that, because of the advantages now of small cameras and stuff like that we're able to capture all these shows, and then maybe perhaps even that it's a brand new concept. in this early 1970s documentary, they send, I think, about 6 Australians into the wilderness on this property with nothing except the clothes on their back. And they drop them off, and this camera crew films them all day, and then disappears and leaves them for the night. Comes back the next day, and their aim's to stay there for a couple of weeks. It's absolutely hilarious, Craig. Oh man, it's so good, and it's what makes it twice as funny is just how Australian.
There had to be some accents there.
It's full on. It's
anything
more,
from that era.
Exactly right. That's exactly right, Craig. It's way more Aussie than I guess our accent is now. It's kind of more, if I can say, refined. I guess it's morphed over the years, but this is it's so good, Craig. And even the interviewer, the host is not a good word.
Narrator.
No, well, he's part of the 6, but then he's obviously some kind of reporter in real life. So then each day he's kind of reporting on how things are going and how he feels the dynamics are going and all this crazy stuff. And there's some funny bits in it, but he's great. He's great. And they're all fantastic. But yeah, as you say, he kind of asked them, so how do you feel like you're going? He goes, oh yeah, everything seems to be going all right. Yeah, they're doing all right. We're not dead yet.
Got a bit more time in us yet.
Yeah, it's just real funny. This kind of not just the accent, but that real Aussie kind of.
Okay, sort of
that grit from back then, before we got soft, is they're just getting on with it. Even this old lady, like she must be like early 60s or something, late 50s, early 60s, and she's out there with them, and they're asking her how you think you're going and that, and she's answering all these. Oh yeah, it'd be good if I could kind of help out a bit more with the, getting food and stuff, but
yeah.
Oh man, so it's great. It's just, I laughed my head off, but also at the same time, like I said at the start, it was really cool to see something produced way back before all the hype. That was essentially the same thing in a lot of ways.
Right. Oh, yeah. That's a good find, mate.
Yeah, it was tops. It was tops, absolutely. It's a must see.
Okay.
All right, guess what I'm not going to forget?
Question time. I mean,
answer
quiz
time, really.
Answer time,
yeah, quiz answer.
Okay.
All right, so the question was, I'll repeat it once more. If you visited a different beach each day in Australia, how long would it take you to visit every beach? Craig, did you just look at my notes then?
No, I'd have honestly.
Okay, good.
Not looked.
Okay, so how long would it take?
A year.
Ooh, interesting. What do you all think, listeners? Let me give you the answer, mate. You're slightly off. It would take you 29 years.
Yeah, right.
Just over 29 years, in fact, as we currently have 10,685 registered beaches.
That's what I was going to say. So registered beach.
Yeah. So that's registered. So there's going to be more. Maybe put away 40 years. I don't know. Yeah. But 29 years to hit all of the registered beaches.
Wow.
That's a long backpacking trip or holiday for all you people planning on coming over here.
Yeah.
It's also probably why we've got the highest sun cancer rate in the world, I believe.
Probably is.
Closely related to that fact right there.
Yeah, got some good
What
beaches.
Are Budgie Smugglers? Sorry, Craig, I just cut you off there.
We got some good beaches, haven't we?
We have got some good beaches. Absolute crackers. What are Budgie Smugglers? What are Budgie Smugglers? They are men's swimwear, but how would you explain them, Craig? Briefs.
Yeah.
Very small swimwear.
Speedos.
Oh, and okay, so I know everyone knows what a smuggler is. Someone who's, trying to discreetly hide something and get something out of the country or whatever. But people might not want to know what a budgie is. A budgie is a small parrot-like bird, which I didn't realise because lots of people have them as pets. I didn't realise they actually were natives. Oh, yeah, you've got one.
Yeah.
What's his or her name?
Banjo.
Banjo. That's incredible. My son's got a dove and he just named it Banjo.
No way.
Yeah, incredible.
That's incredible.
Yeah, he's had it for like a couple of weeks. And
Really?
Yeah, he called it Banjo.
We named it Banjo.
Didn't know anything about you, Budgie. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Well, what a coincidence.
Really,
I'm going to tell him when I get home.
Year and a half we've had
tomorrow.
Little Banjo. He gets out and crawls around on me and nibbles
same
my
with
ear
the
and
dove.
stuff like that.
Yeah, they're cool. So yeah, Budgie's a small bird, and so the name Budgie Smugglers. I mean, just kind of you can make up the picture in your head, and basically, if you were trying to smuggle a small bird out of a particular place in your small underwear, that's where they get the name. So there you go. Good stuff, eh?
Yeah, mate. Yeah.
I think everyone needs to know that.
Right. Just in case you didn't, now you do, and you'll never be able to forget it.
You can never unthink that scene I just described. That's it, mate. I'm done. I'm actually starting to get quite cold.
Mate, I'm
so
freezing.
I am literally going to wrap this up right now.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you for your support. Thanks for checking in on us through this little break. We have a lot of good stuff coming up in the near future. Some interesting guests are in the process of being lined up. I know you're going to love it. Thank you very much. Take it easy. See you guys.
If you're listening to this podcast on iTunes, we'd really appreciate your ratings and comments if you can spare the time. If you'd like to know more about Hike or Die TV and keep track of our adventures around Australia, make sure you drop by HikeordieTV.com. That's where you'll find all the information you'll need to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram or Pinterest. As always, we appreciate your support. Thanks for listening.